thanks YZA for giving us an opportunity here to present our research strategic entrepreneur with the class. And so, good morning, and we just want to say that we are really excited about this topic that we're picking up, entrepreneurship. And it's actually, we find that it's very interesting topic, and it's very important to every single company that need to be successful and to be sustainable in the long run for the future, right? So that's why it's like we pick this topic. And for me, I find that before I started to work on this topic or pick this topic, I find that I really like to have my own accounting firm in the future after my graduation, or at least after my CPA designation, right? So picking this topic and learning how this entrepreneurship work and what type of entrepreneurship, and that will greatly benefit for my startup company in the future. And even if I don't start my company, I can always use it for my career as a manager or something like that in any company or organization. So that's why we are really excited about this topic. And to further elaborating how exciting I am with this topic, I have a story that I want to share with you. So after like 2 weeks ago, I remember when after I've done all the research and doing the outlines on a Saturday evening, and on Sunday, I went to church, and after the service, I met one of my business friends, and he have a few restaurant he's a few restaurant owner, and from time to time when we met, he always told me about some of the new idea and concept about business and how he want to do things, how he want to grow. So, and because I'm so excited about the topic after the research, right? So I can't hold myself, and I share with him about what I'm finding. I say, hey, do you know that recently I was doing a research with the group about one of this business concept of strategic entrepreneurship. Do you know what is strategic entrepreneurship? So I told him that this topic is really interesting because like we find that and for every company, in order to be successful and then to be able to sustain for a long run for their business, they need to involving in strategic entrepreneurship. So without strategic entrepreneurship, they won't be able to last or even sustain in the business. So my friend was like really interested about it because he's a business owner. He always wanted to grow and he wanted to do something new and then to be compete, right? So after listening to that, it's kind of interesting. To make the story short and not to give out too much information, at the end of the talk, I know he's no doubtedly buying my idea and this concept. So you guys probably gonna ask like, what is it so interesting and important that he would buying it? Like, how do I know? Before we leave and go on our way after the church, right? And so we met again in the parking lot. He called me. He said, "Hey Han, your topic is pretty interesting. So, for example, if I'm hiring you, what can you do for me?" That was like really interesting and then surprising me and then it's really pumping me. So that will be a story for strategic entrepreneurship. I just want to ask the group here, do you know anything about, or what do you think about strategic entrepreneurship? So this strategic entrepreneurship, if you're gonna break this term into two, it will gonna come down to strategic management and entrepreneurship. So we find that it's like every single company, in order to be successful, they need to engage in strategic management, which is like I remember the first class where Professor YJ Bao talked about strategic management. Summarize it with one word. Do you guys still remember what that word is?
Yeah. Is it advantage or?
Yeah, correct. That's the magic word is advantages. So strategic management is all about developing a competitive advantages to be able to compete, right? And for entrepreneurship, for same thing, one word to summarize it is opportunity seeking. So in order for a company to be successful, they need to engage in strategic management, which is like developing a competitive advantages strategy versus also involving in an opportunity-seeking behavior. So these are the two main factors that is like basically you cannot get rid of for any company to be successful. So to go into the strategic entrepreneurship, there are two dimensions for strategic management. One of them is explorations, and the other one is exploitations. And some of their activity involving like structuring. How would you structuring your resources management and those kind of resources in order to explore and exploitation. Bundling, leveraging, and value creating. For my part, I probably won't touch too much on the strategic management because two of my partner will probably gonna do that with you guys. And so we're gonna move on to like entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship, there are three main characters for entrepreneurship. One of them is like entrepreneurship mindsets. So you need to have like an entrepreneurship mindset in order to involve an entrepreneur. Basically, the mindset will involving, some people have these kind of character and some people may have to develop throughout the work or career or something like that, which is like, you know, how to manage like leverage risk and then identify, for example, like opportunity, right? So you have to identify the value and to create the opportunity, and then how do you use this resource that people never think of in order to deliver to the customer. So you need to have these entrepreneurship mindset and also entrepreneurship leadership with the entrepreneurship culture. So how a company were able to nurture these kind of like entrepreneurship environments in the workplace in order for a company to have these kind of entrepreneurship mindsets and leadership. Next. So we find that it's like entrepreneurship. There are 4 different types of entrepreneurship. One of them is a starter. The second one is purchaser, inheritor, and also promoted and brought in. A lot of time that before I'm even doing this research, I find that is like my understanding of entrepreneurship is basically just a starter. Because like we probably assuming when we talk about entrepreneurship, the first thing probably come to our mind is that, so yeah, I'm gonna do entrepreneurship. You're gonna start a new business. So that is like the first thing come up. We never thought of like purchaser or inheritor is actually part of an entrepreneurship behavior as well. All right. So so the next slide is the question here is like the strategic management basically is developing a competitive advantages. Normally, it's more beneficial for a large company that they have a lot of capital, right, and hence they have a lot of human resource and management skill, and in order to developing this strategic management strategy. But lots of time we find that it's like a large company, they are really lack on entrepreneurship mindset and skill and leadership. But more small company, they can do a lot more better in this side, but they also lack of strategic management. So this is like one of their trade-off. So example, like for Google, such a big company, would we even think of like how did they involving in entrepreneurship? We know that no doubtly Google is like huge, right? They must have like lots of talented people and then lots of management have good skill to do their strategic and then to exploring all this material and resource. But do we ever think like Google would involving entrepreneurship? Besides the first time that they start the Google, which is like starter, right? And then are they gonna stop there, right? So that's this really interesting questions from the research that we have. We find that throughout the 6 years, starting from 2010 to whatever now, Google acquiring over 200 companies. So that is like a part of entrepreneurship. Like we say, the second one is like acquiring purchaser. So Google, such a big company, they also recognize the importance of entrepreneurship. So they never stop doing it, although that they are huge, right? And then the average, say here that they acquire more than 1 company for weeks. That's crazy. I would not even think that Google would involving something like that after they start entrepreneurship. They have so many people, like why do they want to do that? So, but they also recognize that as well. Next slide. And some of the example right here is like mobility, where Google acquired during 2011. We also know that is Google acquired them. And also Nets Lab. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Nets thermostat. It's a learning programmable thermostat. So they developed on that, and Google see that they have this entrepreneurship mindset. They have come up with some good idea and new product and stuff like that. But Google find that they can be able to work together and elaborate it and get the common ground where they can actually grow together. So they apply all of these companies. And another example, which is from Microsoft. Same thing. It's like Microsoft is a huge company. I would never thought that Microsoft would also do a lot of entrepreneurship as well. But it turned out that surprisingly, Microsoft, same thing like Google, they acquire like tons of companies. And this is just a small list. I cannot shrink them to like otherwise it's like we probably won't see anything. So they also involving a lot of entrepreneurship strategy here too. The next we'll have like a few examples from Google, from Microsoft. Next. So like Google acquired, Microsoft acquires giant company software and teacher gaming, and all of these like smaller companies than Microsoft, they see that they have entrepreneurship mindset. They developing some good idea and mindset which they can be used and then to work together in order to grow. Right? So some of these companies that they involving in entrepreneurship mindset. And one of the very example that we probably know is Coda, right? We use that in the class, so I'm going to use that example again because Coda is a big company. They have a good management, strategic management. They developing their competitive advantages and to compete against their competitor. But the one thing they lack is the entrepreneurship mindset. So they think that that is good enough. So they never exploring the entrepreneurship mindset in order to like exploring the new technology, the internet, the digital and stuff like that. And then they lack that side and they never involved in that area. That's why they've been wiped out from the company. So that's why this entrepreneurship mindset is like crucially important for any company in order to like successful and be sustained, right? And the next slide, we have some. We just learned here is like there are 4 types of entrepreneurship. I'm not sure if you know some of these companies, but it's Arrow Wi-Fi. Did anybody know this company? Okay. So then Arrow Wi-Fi is part of a starter of the entrepreneurship. The CEO Nick Weber, he's a young engineering graduated from university, and one time that he at home, he find that his internet network is not really working very well, and then there's like some dead spot, and we know that from our home sometimes the internet never get there, right? So it sucks. He's frustrated and with all these things, and he have an idea of that, like he don't like these kind of ideas. So because of his engineering, he can have this mindset of like maybe I can design my own internet where able to cover this dead spot and stuff like that to make it better and then exploit this material to customer. So he have this entrepreneurship mindset, creative and strategy. So he formulated and put it into action. And then after he experimented and he find that it worked better than many other retail router in the market. So he started to manufacturing and then started his company, which is like Hero Wi-Fi. So that is like one of the example of entrepreneurship, right? The mindset. He spot the opportunity that he can compete in the market. And then the next one is the Starbucks. What kind of entrepreneurship do you think that Starbucks is involved in?
Changing their business model to allow, they know that they own these stores all day long, but they're busiest in the morning. So now they offer, they have the couches and the sort of social experience, wine, beer, some light snacky foods to try and draw that. So you meet at Starbucks in the morning,
Yeah.
right? So I guess getting more value out of their real estate investment.
Yeah. Yeah, so that is one of the strategic example from Starbucks. So where they actually spot the opportunity and then the value creating, where they're developing a strategy to exploit that value to the customer. But also it's like the starter of the, one of the Starbucks is Howard Su. I searched up his biography. It's pretty interesting. This one is like pretty much like Starbucks. Initially, it's probably is a starter, and Howard is a director, marketing director for Starbucks in 81. So he worked for Starbucks, and for a certain period of year. And there's one time on the trip to Africa where he buy the bean and stuff, and he find this opportunity that he able to use this product and then to deliver to customer. But there's a conflict with the board of director, so he quit Starbucks during that time, and he started his own company to exploring this value where he's seeing this opportunity, right? And 2 years, actually 2 years later, Starbucks seeing that they don't really do well with the thing, so they ask Howard if they want to buy in of Starbucks company. So he acquiring Starbucks or brought in to this company. So basically, Starbucks is like in 1987 or something like that. We can categorize that Starbucks is actually a promoted or brought in type of entrepreneurship, right? Because brought in or promoted type of entrepreneurship is basically for a manager that will work within the company for so long of a period of time and becoming a CEO and an executive. They have the skill and knowledge and stuff like that, and then brought in and own the company. So that kind of thing is also part of entrepreneurship as well. And Starbucks is like can be one of those examples. And some of the inheritor.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah. Some of the inheritor here is a little bit hard to find, but it's like the LG Electronics and Carnival, Agility Investment. Those companies are owned by a family, pretty much owned by family business. So inheritor is most likely is the sons or daughter or grandson, granddaughter grown up and take over the business. So basically that is an inheritor model for entrepreneurship. Here's a summary slides of the 4 types of entrepreneurship. Starter, we've seen already is Arrow and Ride Communicator. And purchasers like Apple, Microsoft, Locksaw, they acquiring many other companies. That can be an example. Inheritor, and it's also promoter brought in. And we also have this table here to summarize the character with the mindset. We can see that for starter, normally it's heavily involving in the entrepreneurship mindset, because those people normally they have a new idea, and then they find the value in order to creating this new value. And most of the time, like the board director, I would imagine that they not really agree with those ideas because it's still fresh and new. It's like there's a risk, right, of entrepreneurship. They say that, well, how do I know that this thing is works? So most of the time, the people that will have entrepreneurship mindset are really strongly and seeing something that other people won't see, they would probably normally start their own company or start a business out there. And then the starter probably will have like more character of entrepreneurship mindsets. And then the purchaser, we see that we have mindsets and also leadership. Inheritor is more like a culture. They grow up into entrepreneurship culture and then they inherit it. And also the promoter, more like in the culture and the leadership side of it, right? Because they work in the CEO, they have this culture and then they have this leadership skill, so they promoted and brought into the company. So here's some of the characteristics related to each type of entrepreneurship. And next, and we also have a little graph here to summarize some of the entrepreneurship mindset of opportunity. Some of these characters are involving like managing uncertainty, goal setting, and real option logic, information asymmetry, which is like they're seeing something that other people don't see because it's information asymmetry. So they're able to spot that opportunity. And the framework and how they will be time frame and like what kind of model and then what kind of time frame that they can deliver this new value or idea, bring it across to the customer, and alertness and insight. So those are a summary for the entrepreneurship mindset. And now I would like to pass it to my partner, Helen, to talk more about strategic management.
Yeah, thank you. Perhaps everyone of this class has some kind of experience with Amazon. Amazon is a brand name. You most probably using Amazon right now to buy something or use in the past. So Amazon actually started 1994 by Jeff Bezos. He was an investment banker. At his age 30, he was the vice president of one of the Wall Street's investment bank. So one day he came through an article about the internet's growth, future growth or projected growth. He saw that the projection is around 2,300% per annum. So Jeff Bezos himself, he is an IT person, though he is working in the banks. So he saw the opportunity. So that's the basic thing of the entrepreneurship mindset. He saw the opportunity. He is thinking about how I can utilize that opportunity. And he came up with an innovative idea to create an online bookstore. It's back in 1994. The internet era is just started. Not a lot of people is using computers. Still, he took the risk. He quit his job. He learned 300,000 from his parents to start the Amazon. And the rest is history right now. Because after 20 years of e-commerce business, Amazon is the world's second largest retailer in terms of market value. They surpassed Walmart last year actually. So it's an amazing success for Bezos and Amazon as well. So Amazon's vision actually to be world's most customer-centric company and to sell everything customers want to buy online. So actually I tried to research something what Amazon actually does not sell online. Can you tell me anything?
People? Animals?
Fresh produce?
Yeah, actually can buy people. I think it's not legally.
Missile?
What is it?
Missile?
Missiles?
People, you can go on to, there's marketplaces to buy the work product, there's a basis.
Yeah, actually there
Human
is
Hogan?
Yes.
Yes?
No. So the list is actually it's not that much, and it's not including. But so far I find that they are not selling firearms, though they sell sports guns. They are not selling tobacco or nicotine kind of things. The basic reason is that it's in online it's hard to verify age, and they try to link it with the ethics, and for that reason they are not selling liquors or wines. Some other things like they are not selling live animals. You can't order a puppy from Amazon. So, and it's not the distribution or delivery mechanics is not feasible actually. It's one-to-one delivery, so they are not doing this. So actually, yeah, there are, you could find a lot of stuff Amazon is offering to sell online, but most probably you will find some that they are not. The next one. So basically, strategic entrepreneurship is all about managing resources in a dynamic way to create wealth for the company and to ensure growth. So this is the basic model actually. Every strategic entrepreneurship has to follow to somewhere. So Amazon is doing that for that reason. So Amazon started with bookstores. It's basically an online bookstore. However, they do have one or two, I think at least one physical bookstore. This is just at the very initial stage, sympathy present inside the markets. So what are the how can we link the bookstores with the initial with this model? So Jeff Bezos saw the opportunity of internet business, selling something online, and he came out with an innovative idea to sell books. It doesn't mean that he loved books much, but the strategy behind selecting books is different, because initially he thought that the number of books available to the customers is huge at that time, and there is significant demand around the world for physical books, and the cost is low. So for starters, I thought it's a good idea to start with the books, and initially the requirements capital will not be too much. So he took the risk to get into the business. He was flexible. They started with a very minimum setup. Jeff Bezos, CEO of Amazon, he himself sometimes has to work with workers to pack up the books, to grab to the delivery stores, mails for mailing them. And he can tie the book selling idea with his visions to ensure growth. And the bookstore was successful. Within 2 weeks of launching Amazon Online, they were able to sell around 20,000 books per week. So back in 1994, that was amazing. So another strategic decisions of Amazon to build giant warehouses. They call it fulfillment centers, basically. So the strategies behind those fulfillment centers is that most of the retailers, manufacturers, they have their own warehouses, and I believe most of them are sophisticated enough, high-tech, well-equipped with everything. Amazon saw there is a gap, because Amazon specialized to deliver one-to-one to individual items to individual customers. And those warehouses, they are basically built to business-to-business mechanics. So he saw the opportunity, he invested huge amount of fund, he took the risk, and now they can use those capacity or capability to sell more, because he has strategic alliances with a lot of retailers like Toys R Us, Sears, Foot Locker, many more. So Sears, Toys R Us, they are selling their own products, but what Amazon is doing, Amazon is capable to deliver one-to-one, so they are using Amazon's fulfillment centers. So at the same time, they are selling online, and Amazon is doing some business by using those capacities. So to came up with new ideas to take competitive advantages, Amazon actually continuously introducing something into the market. Some of them are successful, some are not, but they always trying to put new ideas into the Amazon ecosystem. I just want to tell something about. They are doing actually a lot of things. Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, he's the owner of Washington Post, I think. So it's the business pattern is different, and Jeff Bezos was also involved in one of the private rocket launching company, and I think last year they were successful. They successfully able to land a rocket. Usually, he saw the opportunity. The rockets are usually expired once they are getting into the space. So it's a diversification of ideas, the innovative ideas, and he is trying to do something. Ticketing Amazon Web or Amazon Web Service, he saw the opportunity because the entire IT world is moving into the cloud computing. He saw the opportunity, he took the risk, he invested fund because Amazon has the financial capacity and technical expertise to do something big. And right at this point, cloud infrastructure segment of cloud computing, they have almost 30% market share and they're leading the industry. So this is the cloud computing model actually, how it fits with the ecosystem with its competitors. And before handing over to my friend Dylan, Jeff Bezos said entrepreneurship is successful to make profit is one of the key elements for ongoing, for growth, for long run. Amazon is also aware about that. However, most probably we know that Amazon went to the public in 1998, I believe. So till then, they didn't give any dividend to shareholders. So Jeff Bezos believed that they took their investment decisions to take advantages of long-run apparent with the competitors, not to make money to the Wall Street investors. He said, if you are good with that, you can invest Amazon. If you are not, you are welcome. And the market value their business proposition. The Amazon stocks are continuously growing and they're doing good. Thank you.
All right, hi, I'm Dylan. So earlier in the presentation, we had Han introduce the idea of strategic entrepreneurship, kind of gave the theology and idea behind what an actual entrepreneur is. We followed that up with Kaylin talking about Amazon and their constant opportunity seeking and multiple endeavors that they want to do. I thought I would round out the presentation by giving a practical example on a company that's been really successful in a very recent and somewhat trendy market, right? The activity tracking market. Out of curiosity, does anyone know how much market share Fitbit had in 2012? It was over 80%. So it was just an insane amount of market share, just industry leader. And so to kind of get a look at their entrepreneurial mindset, let's just quickly analyze what they've done so far to become so successful. So the main product that Fitbit sells you, some would argue it's the hardware here, but I believe it's the culture. They sell you the environment, just the whole active lifestyle, and it's very less focused on the actual hardware device. And then as well for price point. So many people thought that with Apple's new iWatch, that it would be devastating for Fitbit as they'd be competing. Apple's a much better known brand. They have much more capital to invest in R&D, but that wasn't the case as Fitbit offers products starting as low as $60. The new iWatch comes out at $350 USD. And that kind of ties into the last two slides here is R&D and the software. So the apps and the features that go into Fitbit and go into activity trackers in general is extremely important. So the one drawback to the iPhone or the Apple Watch is that it's only available for the iPhone and the Apple operating platform, whereas Fitbit, everyone knows you can do it on Android, BlackBerry, Apple, whichever you want. So they have a pretty good advantage there.
Right, and then so next we just look at the risk Fitbit. So what do they need in order to stay ahead, so to speak? In this market, more and more competition. A couple years ago, we didn't really see any activity trackers on the market. Now we see Jawbone, Samsung, Under Armour. There's products ranging from not just wristbands, but they have headphones, shoes, shirts, glasses. I think I even saw a bra for one, like a heart rate monitoring one. Just everything you can think of. So how do they stay ahead? How do they constantly innovate and not just blend in with the rest of the competition? And then another huge risk to Fitbit that I discovered through research is their actual manufacturing risk. They have one company called Flextronics, where they actually source over, I think it was 75% of their manufacturing from. So if there was any hiccup in their operating, it would greatly affect their ability to get their products out as well. And then of course innovations. So it's not the hardware itself, it's heavily in the software, so what kind of features people are willing to pay for, features people find important. And it's about customizing activity trackers for the needs of specific people. Having just a step tracker doesn't really appeal to people weightlifting. Having just a heart rate monitor doesn't really appeal to people that are trying to do different kind of variables. Like say they're doing weight loss and they want to monitor how their heart rate goes up and down for that, but it's not as useful to other people in certain situations. So constantly developing what the market wants and being sensitive to that is really important. So for the next slide, we're just going to kind of ask the group some questions, see if everyone was paying attention. So we're going to divide up by being columns to examples, so Fitbit and Amazon. So for the first one, what type of the 4 kinds of entrepreneurship do you think Fitbit and Amazon are currently at right now?
I think Amazon.
Anyone want to take a stab? Yeah?
And a starter. Depending on where they're at.
Good point, right? With all their new investments and ventures, definitely starting out and when the Kindle first came out, they were definitely ahead of the track for that, well before the tablet. And then for Fitbit. Okay, they're a starter, relatively new to the industry. It's a relatively new market in general. So we expect them to stay a starter for quite a while, depending on the demand for market activity trackers. But it's like a life cycle. Companies always start out as starters, and it's just a gradual, you hope if you're doing successful and you're managing your capital properly that you can be a purchaser. Eventually you'll have a company that you can pass down unless you want to go public. Inheritor and promote great, constantly strategically thinking of these options and the best way to seek opportunities and maintain a competitive advantage. And then for the next one, what do you think the next step is for both?
Are first movers by their nature inheritors?
First movers?
So Fitbit kind of commoditized the activity tracking market. Are they the inheritors of, is a first mover an inheritor? Are they equivalent terms?
I think in these terms, inheritor is generally more to like multi-generational companies,
Okay.
right? So just some local companies I had for experience was
Pearson's.
Yes, it was Pearson's, right? So they had the company owned and operated for 4 generations, and it's a much different kind of culture and atmosphere and mindset in general.
For the most part, for these like Fitbit and Amazon, they normally just bounce back between starter and purchaser.
Right? It's a constant cycle.
For the most part, they're not going to. I mean, there's a chance, I suppose, that Amazon could develop into inheritor status, but really, they really need to focus on those starter purchasers to continue
exactly
being innovative.
And there's a constant shift and a balance between them. What might work for Amazon in their industry at their time is definitely not what would work for Fitbit, for example. Being a starter in that market definitely is a bit more advantageous than trying to be a purchaser or inheritor.
Yeah.
Right, so for the next step for Fitbit, I talked about it a little bit, it's differentiation, it's finding features, apps, products that people are actually willing to pay for, and not just throwing in a bunch of metrics that no one cares about. And I feel like that a lot of activity trackers that I looked at gave me a bunch of info that I just didn't care about. So I was just pulling my hair out, wishing I could, almost like cable, just pick and connect the channels I wanted and the features that I wanted. So it's up to them to kind of innovate and stay ahead of that. And for Amazon, being the giants they are, they just want to focus on building capacity. Their distribution centers, and you guys can go to the next slide and show the answers here. So just for example, that's what they're looking at specifically for the short term, maybe long term. And it's a constant entrepreneurial strategy. It's going back to the life cycle. After this is done, you don't just put it away, you don't just stop. It's a constant cycle. You're constantly asking yourself, what's the next step? So you want to constantly be looking for both opportunities. You want to be analyzing the market, looking for risks. And I believe Han had some final words to wrap up.
Is that internal product culture or the culture of their customers? I find that Fitbit is really leveraging that.
Yes.
And that's, what's cool about that is that Apple has to compete on an even playing field, because they can't compete on R&D dollars. They don't.
You're right.
Apple's R&D budget is larger than the complete budget of
Yes.
Fitbit, but
They try to buy Fitbit.
they're competing with, and there's zero operations cost, as we've learned in collaboration culture.
Yes,
So they
yeah.
can compete on the same level.
So I'd say it's more customer culture, right? You have the software that lets you, you can talk to your friends, you can challenge your friends, see leaderboard, and constantly stay motivated. I've had one for quite a time, and it even sends you little compliments, so to speak, right? It's like, oh, good job, you did X amount of miles, or you're like 2,000 above average on.
And they've recently opened up so friends of friends. So I'm
Yeah.
competing with people in San Francisco that I've never met and likely never will. And yet then they're sending me messages and all this, like it's kind of neat, right? Like it's like, who's, one of them's name is Santi, I don't know Santi, and I'm like, excuse me, I don't know you. And he informed me, he said, oh, they opened up this up.
But I got 4,000 more steps than you.
So
it's on.
this up, and this is our, and they're helping band their customers, right? So you're not competing with the person who's an ultra marathoner.
Yeah.
They might be a friend of yours, but you're never going to compete on steps.
And take that one step further, right? You might not know this gentleman, but say you had, they had a kind of feature that analyzed your lifestyle,
Yeah.
and say, like if you had an office worker that worked Monday to Friday, and you might not necessarily know the guy in San Francisco, but if he has a similar lifestyle, then maybe you'd be a bit more curious on how you stack it up, right? So there's room for development in that. I'd be a bit more interested to
And
kind of
that's
see the average in my
So that's
background.
how they can leverage that for adoption and engagement of new products.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
So normally, you would hope that your friends talk to you about the new Fitbit app, but for those that they do.
Mhm.
If you've already seen people that are the same,
Yes.
then you just need to get one of those people, and word of mouth is gonna spread
Yeah.
along the planet.
Start the spread.
Exactly.
That's something they base it probably really heavily on.
So that's a pretty cool discussion here, and got lots of idea. And we see this throughout these presentations. We see that how is this two behavior that each company is engaged in is how important they are to each individual successful company, right? So we see like how is the entrepreneurship mindset to come up with this new idea and spotting the opportunity, something that people never seen it and people never know about it, and then it's interconnections with strategic management, which is like how to exploring it and then exploiting these value to the customer. We see that the strategic management and entrepreneurship are interrelated and tightly work together. And we've seen that from the discussion, we know that some of the company, even though that they are started, they will also continue to developing the entrepreneurship mindset to look for opportunity, and they might gonna involving in different type of entrepreneurship, such as acquiring. If they don't have that idea, but other people have the idea, maybe they're gonna acquire other company and to accommodating the entrepreneurship mindset that they may lack. And then some entrepreneurship mindset that they have this idea, but maybe they lack of the strategic management side where they can able to benefit and benefit each other and
See that
see that this opportunity. Yeah. So we see that how they are tightly related to each other and how they are so important to a company that wanted to be successful in competitive, and also at the same time want to seek new opportunity. Little quiz for you guys to see if you actually pay attention. Remember the story that I tell you earlier at the beginning of class? Do you still remember the questions that my friends asked me?
What would you do for him if you went to work for him?
Yeah. So you say, if I'm hiring you, what can you do for me? So tie back to this strategic entrepreneurship. It's like basically this is a beautiful picture that a strategic entrepreneurship idea and concept paint the picture for a company, right? So we have this idea, this cool idea, and then we have the strategic management. So the question is like, there's a lot of things that we can reveal after this beautiful foundation that we lay of this concept. Is like this picture here, we have this bamboo tree, pretty nice paint, and there's still gonna be a lot of space that to be filled. The question is like, what's next? So after we have this idea, we have this strategic management concept and exploiting it. So the question is, what's next? I'm gonna leave you guys with this question of what's next, and also hopefully you guys will learn something from this strategic entrepreneurship, and will be benefits for everyone's career in the future too.
If there is a platform, allow them to look at those ideas, to identify team, and give them some seeds money to go to do research on the ideas and write back the report. Hey, that's a new market. That's matchmaking. That's matchmaking. And if you be able to link that idea to local charity, and then that make every parties will be more active and happy to participate. So project like this can be cashed in with the real needs in the real market, and you can capitalize on your talent. And even that might be just for the charity purpose. Think about how many companies you will be knowing in the process, and that paves your way to the headquarters and to be hired by those companies. I mean, just ideas. When I was sitting there and listening to this wonderful presentation, reminded me of another wonderful presentation we had last time. And this is idea for your consideration. What's next? So that might be some ideas for you to consider in terms of entrepreneurship.